Where is it? It has to be here somewhere. Where is it? I know I've put it here somewhere. I haven't seen it in such a long time. Where is it? Huh? Top 10 missing video game characters. Glover was a game developed for the Nintendo 64 and Windows in 1998. It was also later released for the PlayStation in 1999. You take control of Glover, who is, well, a glove. You have to push a ball to the end of each stage. A very simple concept, but an amazingly fun game. Glover became a pretty obscure character as it was the only game he would ever appear in. There was a Glover 2 announced, but it got initially cancelled. The game was on 80 to 85% completion. It was later revealed that the game was cancelled because an employee of Hasbro, the publisher for Glover, ordered too many cartridges. Which put the whole company with $500,000 worth of stock that they couldn't sell. Because they had 150,000 cartridges that they couldn't sell. Which is pretty sad business. In April of 2018, a small video game company called Golden Mushroom Studio put out a message on Reddit stating that they had the rights to Glover and would be making a direct sequel to the first game. But it turned out they only had the rights to the trademark and not the copyright, which would not give them the rights to make the game. Another company called Pico Interactive luckily does have the rights to Glover. So, not all hope for a sequel is lost. I talked about Earthworm Jim before. Developed by Shiny Entertainment, Jim was a handsome earthworm. He had the head of the worm but the body of a
buff handsome hunk.
He was the star of 4 games. His games were silly and sometimes over the top, with a lot of toilet humor and silly jokes. A 5th game was in the works for the PSP, which would be created by Atari, who had the rights to Earthworm Jim at the moment. Even the original creators were working on the game. By August 2006, the game was at 80% completion and slated for an early 2007 release. But then Atari quietly pulled out the plug because of financial trouble. And after that, we only got some re-releases and HD ports for several consoles. And what's next for Jim? Well, nobody knows. Interplay sold the rights in 2016. But to the public, it's pretty much unknown who owns them. Maybe someday we can whip out some worm hair once again. Groovy! Back in the day, there was not just Donkey and Diddy Kong, but it was all about Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. Donkey Kong Jr. debuted in the game by the same name, where Mario has captured Donkey Kong and where you as Jr. have to save him. He was also playable in the original Mario Kart, but after that was replaced by Donkey Kong in every game since. He is also playable in Mario Tennis for the Nintendo 64 and also has been somewhat present in a whole lot of cameos in several games, but nothing major. It looks like he has just been replaced by Diddy. There's also a theory that DK Jr. is the modern Donkey Kong that we see today, and that's why he has never appeared ever since. Could it be? Yes, I know, it's not a character created for video games. But it is a character that's created for a book that's created for movies that are created for video games. Get it? James Bond has a long list of video games reaching from 1983 all the way to 2012. The biggest gap between games was 3 years, which happened between 1993 to 1997. And also that big of a gap only happened once. But to this day we haven't seen a game since 2012, which is just a damn shame. Okay, admittedly, not all James Bond games have been great, especially the more recent. But on Nintendo 64 and GameCube we had some of the most fun multiplayer experiences ever created. Just good old classic hootin' and shootin'. Activision was the last company to own the rights to James Bond. On the 4th of January 2013, all online availability to the games Quantum of Solace, Bloodstone and 007 Legends disappeared. Only a month later, Activision stated that they would stop dealing with licensed games because of the trouble. I would say now is the time for another company to give it a try. I love Gex. Gex, a gecko created by Crystal Dynamics, was the star of 3 major games. This trilogy is generally well received. Gex 3, Deep Cover Gecko, was even the best-selling PlayStation adventure game in 1999, selling 3 million copies. Gex has a lot of snarky remarks, like,
"Don't make me take my tongue out."
Hello there, my secret friend.
Now that's what I call getting some tail.
The game's main theme is television. Each stage represents another type of genre of television, which makes the game really diverse and fun to explore. After 1999, with the release of Gex 3, it will be the last time we would see Gex. I still believe he has a lot of potential, but there is some good news. Square Enix announced on the 17th of February 2015 that developers are able to create games on old Eidos IPs, including the Gex IP. So, fingers crossed. I want the original Lara Croft back. And no, not this one. I want some gun-blazing, dinosaur-shooting, jet-ski riding, smart-mouthed, badass Lara Croft back. With some amazing tracks by original composer Nathan McCready, who knows how to capture the Lara Croft feeling. And with that, enough said. Next! Talking about dinosaur shooting, Turek was a character that has seen a couple of cool games. He was based on a comic book character by the same name. Your main threat in the games are humans that are after you, but you can also find some dinosaurs hanging around that won't play nice with you. Turek got later rebooted in 2008 with mostly positive reviews. A second game was also planned, but was eventually cancelled because of layoffs at the company. With the return of Doom, it would be nice to see Turek return in the same vein. Pepsi Man is the official mascot for Pepsi in Japan and was created somewhere in the mid-90s. Beside that, he has appeared as a video game character. He first appeared in 1996 on the Sega Saturn in the game Fighting Vipers. He was a special unlockable character, and his speciality was to
quench one's thirst. Oh.
But after that, the real fun began. In 1999, he appeared in his own game, also titled Pepsi Man, where the character automatically runs and you have to avoid as many obstacles as possible. In the meantime, you have to collect as many Pepsi cans as you can. In some regions, the cover art would have the greatest slogan for a game. It would simply state, "Drink. Just drink."
Just drink, goddammit!
I don't know why, but after that no more Pepsi Man games appeared, which is just a damn shame. Hashtag Pepsi Man for Smash. Do you like rabbits?
Yay!
Do you hate tortoises?
Yay!
Then Jackrabbit is just right for you. I loved these games as a kid, especially Jackrabbit 2. I even had a rabbit when I was a kid that I called Jazz, but then he died because a fox ate him or something. Jackrabbit was created by Epic Games and had its first game in 1994, with its successful sequel releasing in 1998. As Jazz, you play a 2D side-scroller where you shoot everything you can, do some platforming and even some puzzles. Tortoises are your main enemy, but they're not much of a challenge. You can also pick one of Jazz's friends, Spaz or Lori. There was also supposed to be a third game, which would be completely in 3D, but it got cancelled as the developers couldn't find a publisher. The Since then, the alpha has leaked online. We also have the 2002 version for the Game Boy Advance that was developed by Game Titan, where they didn't use any source material and went with a complete Star Wars theme. And that was the last we have seen from Jazz. Besides, a poster in Fortnite. So that makes Jazz pretty hip. Well, we can keep talking about how Rare has one of the most rich histories with video game characters, but decides to ignore it mostly. If you know what I mean. But for today I want to talk about Conker. This swearing mad squirrel made his debut as a playable character in Diddy Kong Racing in 1997. After which he got his own Game Boy Color game in 1999. Then, in 2001, he really rose to fame with his Nintendo 64 game, Conker's Bad Fur Day. I've heard many stories about how parents would buy this for their kids, without knowing it really wasn't meant for them. Conker has a filthy mouth, and some content is to be called questionable, with poop monsters and flowers with pretty big
Knockers.
In 2005, Bad Fur Day was remastered for the Xbox. And then, we wouldn't hear about Conker for a long time. Then Project Spark released for Xbox One with the promise of a multi-episodic Conker DLC. But episode 1 released, all DLC was cancelled and the whole game stopped getting support, so it just died. Enter 2016, where they thought, hey, remember Conker? Yup. Shall we just say and not use any source material and just make it a generic squirrel? Yup. And then you have Young Conker.
Young Conker is basically a platformer, which happens in your room.
As you can see, people weren't too happy about it. Some people got to play the game, but it mostly died a slow death, with not too much information releasing after. So yeah, let's hope we get the real Conker back someday. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments which character you miss that doesn't show up as much anymore. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel as it helps me out a lot. And I really appreciate you for doing so. If you have the time, you can check out one of my other videos right here. And if not, I hope to see you next time. Bye!